as we here at Radio Flange Goblet are still pretty much closed down for the holiday season, one show just won't give up the ghost. We keep trying to kill it. I put its head under the water. I took a pillow and tried to suffocate it. I force-fed it linguine till it made some quite unreasonable smells, but still, it kicks and kicks. I stabbed it through the chest with a sort of a fire poker implement one might see next to a roaring fire on Christmas Day, maybe. You know, when the children are getting a bit loud and you look at it, half-heartedly dreaming and half-heartedly wishing it were you at the hot, pokey end of it. Anyway, that, of course, the thing that won't die is the after-movie dino. And as is tradition now around Radio Flange Goblet Towers, the only show that we're broadcasting on December 31st of this very year of our Lord is the After-Movie Diner New Year's Eve special. They do it every year, even though we ask them not to. So, from all of us here at Radio Flange Goblet, most of whom are very, very pissed, that means drunk, not sober. Here it is, the After-Movie Diner New Year's special.
You're listening to the After Movie Diner with your host, Jon Cross. And now, here's your host, Jon Cross.
Well, here we are again at the end of another year. And what a year. It was a boiled shite and cabbage stew of a year. It was a run out into the street naked, set your balls on fire and punch a child kind of a year. It was a waking up to find your nose and lips wedged into the sweaty butt cleft of an enraged carny who just found you having it away with the bearded lady and is carving Nazi slogans into your upper thighs with a blunt pencil kind of a year. Normally in years like this, we turn to entertainment or movies, but most of the entertainment and movies this year ranged from the utterly atrocious to the woefully mediocre. I saw all my fellow film fans desperate to embrace something, anything, trying to exalt the likes of Get Out, It, and Baby Driver to classic status when they were anything but. I realized either the world has gone fucking nuts and people's perceptions and expectations have fallen so low that anything that isn't unmitigated bilge is suddenly heralded as the savior to the flabby, bloated, and diseased cock of a Hollywood that has long since given up caring two shits what anyone wants or what is good in favor of pandering to teenagers and the greasy old white cunts who want to molest them, or I have finally reached peak curmudgeon status. I have finally reached that moment where I am old, past it, don't understand it, don't care anymore, and the passions and fervour of my youth have fallen away into the dump heap of the past. It's probably 6 of one and half a dozen the other, if I'm honest. Anyway, so despite 2017 leering at us, John Thomas and sweaty bollocks in hand, staggering towards the masses, pants around its ankles, its bulging cum and breakfast-flecked gut, swinging dangerously close to our aghast mouths and a fascist flag stuck in its arse, myself and my two post-apocalyptic travellers on the road that is paved with the dead bodies of honour, ability, class, creativity and humour have decided to watch a few stunningly depressing Gene Hackman movies, strap on our microphones, lube up our chops and plunge back into the yearly spectacle of debauchery and knob gags that is the After Movie Diner New Year's special. To my right, he was born a small Spanish dwarf in Nicaragua at the turn of the last century to a blind missionary and a painter of some note, Manuel Fuego, who mainly did graphic nudes of nuns and had a penchant for using a vibrating toothbrush as an anal stimulant. Travelling to the southern tip of New Mexico, my guest would go on to invent the extendable dong hat, the novelty butt wrench, and the inflatable titty hammer. Partnering for some time with left-wing Jewish circus owner Jaime Velmschatz, they would produce a vaudeville revue featuring mostly buxom co-eds that would take Lithuania by storm. He's a veritable player of the pink tuba, can fart in Latin, can ride a double-decker bus without being an annoying twat, and can spell Welsh place names without giggling. I keep inviting him back on the show because of his impressive ability to tongue an earlobe from 4 feet away and play a mean ukulele with his penis. It's the one, the only, the highly engorged Moe Porn.
Yeah, my vote goes to curmudgeons, but yeah. Thanks for having me back.
You're welcome, sir. And to my left, and to his left indeed, having overcome the rampant twin diseases of handsomeness and intelligence, my guest still rose to prominence as one of the 4 members of 90s boy band Felch, an impressive 4-piece that sang wafty, effeminate songs about sex despite all of them being virgins. When the leather trouser trade collapsed due to a small outbreak of common sense in 1996, so did the band, but that didn't stop my guest undergoing complete reconstructive surgery, watching every Sylvester Stallone film ever made, yes, even including Fist, which, for many reasons, obvious or not, were his favourite, and for finally going completely berserk, scaling Blackpool Tower in nothing but a loincloth, declaring his undying support of Bella Emberg's hefty shelf, and setting fire to a Russ Abbott-shaped effigy that he made out of old popsicle sticks and his own filthy ball fizz. He's the father of modern action, tattooed heavily with all the words of the Leicester FC naughty chant that features many puns on kicking foreigners in the testicles, and once met Scott Atkins in a darkened car park where they both hugged gently for a small moment before disappearing into the night. Ladies and germs, he's a defender of the weak, despite also loving weekends. He's a fighter for justice, despite also loving chastity, faith, and other weirdly named prostitutes. And he's one of the greatest podcasting duos to only record 1 episode in an entire year. He's Dr. Paul Croson.
Thank you. You can find all of Felch's back catalogue on iTunes or Spotify.
But not on Pandora, because fuck those people. And as a public service announcement, Matt Payne, our usual 4th chair on these occasions, cannot appear this year due to contractual negotiations and an incident with a Dachshund, some Swarfiga, and Emma Thompson's mum, Phila Delore. Ladies and germs, hello and welcome to this, the After Movie Diners New Year's Eve depressing special. How are we all doing?
I'm a little
Good.
depressed.
I thought that it would be the perfect way to see out 2017 by picking out some of the worst Gene Hackman films ever made and loose cannons and talking about them. So that's what we're going to do. We, as always, went through many different iterations of what we were going to cover this year, including my constant demand for us to watch some Linda Blair. However, it was not to be. And I have to say that even though we started talking about this months ago, the enthusiasm for doing the New Year's episode this year was at an all-time low. But we managed to wrangle it nonetheless and decided on Gene Hackman films. I, of course, picked out 15. Doc was like, can we just do 2? And I think we settled somewhere on 4, although I think Doc's only watched 3.
We settled on 4 because I thought we only were doing 3.
So nobody else watched French Connection 2 then?
No.
Yeah, I watched the first 3 minutes.
I didn't at all.
So you're telling me I sat through 2 of the most grimy and depressing and shoddily made 2 hours last night for nothing?
Yup.
Okay. So the 3.
So we're covering 3 of Gene Hackman.
No, we can talk about the first 3 minutes of French Connection 2.
That's probably the best bit, the first 3 minutes. If I tell you that 45 minutes of French Connection 2 is bad guys shooting Gene Hackman up full of skag and then him being weaned off skag cold turkey, and that's like the second act of the movie. So for literally almost an hour, Gene Hackman goes through forced heroin addiction, and then
well, you say forced.
I mean, really, it's heroin. You're going to want to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm. But it really is, outside of Last House on the Left or Faces of Death, it's probably one of the most depressing sequences in film, and nowhere near as funny as Last House on the Left or Faces of Death. So.
At least both of those feature castrations.
Right, exactly. At least both of those are more sort of in my wheelhouse, meaning the groinal area. So let's do 5 minutes on. I've been very vocal on the internet about how little I enjoyed any film in 2017. Did you guys have any best ofs at the end of the year, or any recommendations to the listening masses, of which there are 5? What films from 2017 people should spend their time with?
What movies came out in 2017 again? I don't even fucking remember.
Mo lives in Florida, so they still have films from 2012 playing.
Yeah, right.
I'm trying to think.
I gotta look up what the hell came out this year, because I don't even fucking remember. That's how bad it was.
There were 2 films for me that I liked from 2017. One was Wonder Woman, and I think I liked it more because it was a surprise, being that it was a DC film that didn't suck massive balls. And although that would have at least been an interesting ending for Wonder Woman. And the other one was 60 Minutes to Midnight, which is an independent Canadian film that I reviewed for the After Movie Diner that I seriously loved. I understand that there's that brawl in Cell 99 or whatever that movie is with Vince Vaughn that I now have a screener of, but I have not yet seen.
I just bought that.
Sorry?
I just bought that, so I'm hopefully going to watch that tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah. I have not seen it yet.
I have it, but I haven't seen it yet. So everyone's Brawl in Cell Block 99 or whatever it's called. People have been telling me to watch that. But 60 Minutes to Midnight, I don't know when it's going to come out. It's got my friend Robert Nolan in it, who's in a lot of the indie films that we've covered on the show from the Fatal Pictures guys, who are also Canadian. And it's a neat little action movie, kind of a little bit Running Man, a little bit Die Hard, but all set in a house in the middle of Ontario, I think.
All right, so I was looking at the stuff that came out. There are some. I know me and you kind of differ on the comic book movie stuff. I know you're not a fan of where that's going, but I mean, I've liked a lot of those. I really enjoyed Logan. I really liked Spider-Man: Homecoming. I thought that was a lot of fun. But I don't want to get it into a conversation of where, comic book movies have gone. To name a few of the ones that I remember from the year that were legitimately good and not just I had a lot of fun watching them. The Red Turtle was fantastic, real interesting.
Is that about a man desperate for a poop and has been holding it in so long that it's now a red turtle?
No. That's the sequel, The Red Turtle Touching Cloth.
Right. Okay.
But it's like a dialogueless movie, animated film about I don't know. It's about stuff. It's great. It's a real interesting look at art as film. I really enjoyed it. War on Everyone was a lot of fun. Right.
Now, I did enjoy that one, and I should have put that on my list, but War on Everyone was a good film. I enjoyed that a lot. Considering that writer-director, in fact, both of the brothers who sort of write and direct those kind of movies have been hit and miss. For example, I much preferred that over his brother's film, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which got loads of critical acclaim, but I watched it and went, nah.
I haven't seen that one yet. What else? I just saw one. Logan, obviously, but that's not one. Where is it? Oh, The Girl with All the Gifts. Have you seen that?
I haven't, no.
I've seen that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Okay.
It's an interesting take on the post-apocalyptic zombie movie.
Okay.
But there are zombies who can still talk and kind of have their faculties, but they're still zombies, and there's this one girl.
They're called Trump supporters.
But there's this one girl.
I'm not sure Trump supporters have their faculties.
Yeah.
They can still talk though. You give them that. You can give them that.
I can give them that.
But can they really?
I don't think that shouting or drooling is considered talking in the.
It isn't, Leicester.
True.
The newest Fast and Furious movie I thought was a lot of fun. Honestly, like since they brought The Rock into the series, like I've really been just enjoying the shit out of them. They're just getting crazier and crazier in the best way.
Yeah, no, I mean, I liked that, but it certainly wouldn't be on my best in terms of.
No, I'm just thinking of movies here that I actually enjoyed.
Sure. No, I mean, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed Logan, but it wasn't, a lot of people came out of Logan like screaming its praises, and I came out of Logan going, it wasn't as good as the Wolverine. It was okay. It was fine. Same with Spider-Man Homecoming. Like, it was fine. Like, it was okay. It was good. It was watchable. But it wasn't, like, nothing blew my skirt up from either of those.
It wasn't Spider-Man 3.
No.
So it's a fucking masterpiece.
I don't think they've made a good Spider-Man movie since the 70s Spider-Man movie, the one in Hong Kong.
What about Turkish Spider-Man?
Turkish Spider-Man is probably my second favorite Spider-Man movie.
That doesn't surprise me. It's fucking fantastic. Man, you're right. Yeah, there really was not a lot of like amazing stuff this year.
Doc, what about yourself? Do you have any from 2017 that you wish to proselytize about?
I enjoyed Kong Skull Island in the cinema.
Yeah, I did.
That.
Again, I enjoyed all the bits with Kong in it. All the human actors were awful, but I enjoyed all the Kong versus dinosaur.
I didn't like the two leads, but I thought John C. Reilly was pretty good in it.
John C. Reilly was all right.
But John C. Reilly is fucking good in everything, though.
Yeah, it's true.
He's always fun to watch.
Also,
I don't know. He was a bit shit in John's Bar Mitzvah video.
Although what's funny is that John C. Reilly hasn't really been in many prominent films in the last few years, so it was funny to see him in Kong Skull Island.
Because he's been on that bloody island.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It was like that he had really been on that island, and the filmmakers showed up to film, and he was like, "Hello, I'm John C. Reilly." Like, shit, put him in the film.
For everybody else, it's a movie. For everybody else, it's a movie. For him, it's a documentary.
Exactly. No, I really enjoyed the fights between the big monsters. Like, I thought that was sort of the first time since the old Japanese films that I thought they really got it right. I hadn't really sort of seen CGI, two big monsters fighting in CGI that had the same effect on me as the old, like, stop motion and or guys in suits used to, which I used to really love. In the Peter Jackson King Kong one, his wrestling with the dinosaurs was like pretty badly rendered in that one. I wasn't a Pacific Rim fan, although I don't mind a Pacific Rim, but that's something else. But yeah, I thought that at least Kong Skull Island had that going for it. But again, didn't necessarily make it into my like top films of the year. It made it a good blockbuster film, but like these days I find that something to become a good blockbuster film again means it just didn't suck too hard,
right. Oh, you're right. And like so I've gone up and down this list of all the movies that have come out so far this year, and yeah, nothing that would nothing that would have in years past qualified as a top 10 film. You're right. It's crazy.
So any more, Doc?
I enjoyed Guardians. I enjoyed the new Star Wars. I've been watching mainly old films, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. I mean, my list of... I decided to try and put together a list of films that I had seen in 2017 that weren't necessarily made in 2017. So films that were first-time watches for me.
Right.
So they could have been old movies, but they were the first time I watched them. And my list is this. It's Miracle Mile, which I got the Blu-ray of.
I love that fucking movie.
Really love that movie. Had never even heard of it. And it came out because it's by the director of Cherry 2000. And that Miracle Mile and Cherry 2000 both came out on Blu-ray in the middle of the year. And I saw some of my fellow film reviewers pimping them on Instagram. And I was like... I'm just going to buy these. Like, it was a weird impulse Blu-ray purchase, which I don't really kind of do anymore because I sort of don't have that disposable income. But I just thought, I want Cherry 2000 anyway. I'm just going to buy both of them. And I sat down to watch Miracle Mile, and I was absolutely blown away. I really enjoyed the hell out of that movie. I thought it was really well done. Scarecrow, which is a Gene Hackman movie, so we can maybe talk about that a little bit. But again, never even heard of it. Gene Hackman, Al Pacino. We did an episode of the podcast about it, so I won't go too deep into it. But from the 70s, such a phenomenally good movie. Just really great road movie, kind of a little bit beatnik, a little bit Kerouac-y and Hunter S. Thompson-y, but very cool. Loved it. Wonder Woman, which I said I was just a surprise to me because it was the first movie I've seen in a long time of comic book movies since those kind of early Marvel ones that kind of gave me that boyish glee that you got from everything from sort of the early Indiana Jones films and James Bond films right through to stuff like I'm a big fan of the first Captain America movie, and it definitely felt like that first Captain America movie, and I thought they did it really well. And I'm sure there are some people who have issues with the bad guy or issues with the CGI or issues with this, but I just thought they told a really good story. They kept it entertaining, and it had enough of that like daring do and adventure and action and that kind of stuff that we used to get in blockbuster movies that we just don't get anymore. So I thought I really enjoyed that.
What movie was that again you were talking about?
Wonder Woman.
Oh, Wonder Woman. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I did discover there's one movie I saw this year that's top 10 list worthy because the story behind it is amazing. The movie itself is amazing, and it's really, really interestingly done. It's the film Junkhead. Have you seen that?
I haven't, no.
All right. So Junkhead basically is a stop-motion animated film set in sort of like a post-apocalyptic dystopia. The entire film was hand done, stop motion wise, by one man. It took him like 9 years to finish or something like that. And wow. It's really interesting. Doug turned me on to it a long time ago.
Doug just turns me on.
Well, yeah, I mean that Canadian accent, but he turned me on to it like several months back. And I found it and I watched it, and it's fantastic. So if you can get your hands on a copy, there's a 30 basically what he did was he did a Kickstarter, and then he did the first 30 minutes, and he put the first 30 minutes out for free, so that he could do another Kickstarter to finish the movie. Yeah. So that first 30 minutes is online on YouTube if you want to watch it.
Nice.
Absolutely worth checking out. It's really, really interesting, and the stop motion is beautiful. I mean, it's beautifully done.
Excellent. Well, I will have to check that out. I'm a big fan of stop motion. The other ones, I've pretty much done podcasts on all of these, but The Hunted with Christopher Lambert was not a movie I was even aware of, and Brad Gullickson turned me on to it. Fucking loved the shit out of that movie. Tapeheads, which I'd heard of but never seen. Which I
love Tapeheads.
Oh, it's absolutely. It's just so much fun. It's so weird. It's so 80s. It's awesome. No, I was turned on to Tapeheads by my friend Marcus, and I did an episode with him. That was awesome. And then 60 Minutes to Midnight, which I mentioned. And then lastly, the Hammer film, The Gorgon, which I couldn't believe I hadn't seen, but is just incredible, just a good time. But even that is still only 7 films. So in 2017, I could only find 7 films that would make even my top 10 list of films that I've seen in 2017.
Yeah, that's wild.
Doc, what about you, sir?
What good films that I've watched this year?
No. Just in general. Any more comments on 2017 before we turn our?
Yeah, I enjoyed John Wick 2. I forgot to say that. I enjoyed that.
Again, I enjoyed all the world building and a lot of the new characters they introduced. But the action for me let that film down. I just thought the action was very computer gamey and staged. It didn't have the the surprise and visceral nature of the first one. It's a bit like the old thing between the Raid and the Raid 2. Like a lot of people thought with the Raid 2 they would just kind of redo the Raid, and they didn't. They tried to do a whole bunch of other stuff, which I then ended up really enjoying. So I'm like, if I want to see the Raid, I can just go back and watch the Raid. Whereas with John Wick 2, I felt like the action was more of the same and even more mechanical. I felt like I wasn't seeing anything new. And it got to the point where the shootout he has in, like, the caves, that, like, corridor of caves, where he's literally just duck, jump, shoot, duck, jump, shoot, duck, jump. Oh, he's getting everyone with the first shot. I was just like, well, and I'm worried that with the third film, no spoiler, well, no, it's a huge spoiler, but by the end of John Wick 2, the entire world is against him. Absolutely every single criminal assassin organization is against him, and he has absolutely no safety net anymore whatsoever. I just worry that John Wick 3 is just going to be an entire computer game of him running through multiple levels, jumping, pointing, and shooting.
Oh, God,
it's actually going to be, instead of the movie itself, it's going to be just a shot of, like, a fat, like, 17-year-old just playing a video game. That's all it's going to be.
Yeah. So that's exactly. So it's going to start.
Watch it.
It's going to star your nephew then, Mo. Is that what you're saying?
Ooh, he's 14.
Oh, he's 14. Oh.
Everything else applies, though.
Everything else applies.
Oh, for one of the first time watches that I've not seen before, and I got on Blu-ray this year, was The Last Detail with Jack Nicholson. I've never seen that before.
That's a great.
That's a great movie. That is a great movie.
Loved it. Loved it. Oh, and Boycott, Undisputed 4 with Skatkins. That was awesome.
Absolutely.
Oh, Skatkins. Yeah, I did like Savage Dog.
Yeah, that was good.
Savage Dog. I don't know if I'd put it in my top 10, but Savage Dog was wonderful.
And that fucking, was that this year or was that last year? The Dolph Lundgren Don't Kill It. Was that this year?
I don't know. I think so. Yeah, I think it came out this year.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I didn't see.
I mean, it's again not top 10 list quality at all. Just fun. Just another movie I wanted to mention that I had fun watching.
Okay.
Probably my favourite film watching this year, first time watching this film I put off for years, was a Cinema Paradiso. I put it off for years, and I watched it, and I was like, yeah, they were right. It's fucking awesome.
Fun fact, I should say, that was one of the movies that got me into watching movies.
I'm not surprised. It's a beautiful film.
Yeah, I watched it when I was 17, and I'm like, I need to watch more movies. This is amazing.
And a surprise rewatch for me last night. I hadn't seen this film probably in 20, 25 years, something like that. But out of nowhere, I was just like, I'm going to buy the Blu-ray of Starman, because of all John Carpenter's films, nobody ever talks about Starman. Like,
Starman's great.
It's first of all, it's great. Second of all, it's great. Third of all, like I say, of all the kind of Shout Factory re-releases and special editions and blah, 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 like, Starman is never fucking mentioned. And I was just like, I went and saw Carpenter again play with his band.
It's because Karen Allen don't get her tits out.
She does. She does. It's one of the few movies in which she's sort of naked. I mean, you don't see her nipples, but you see plenty of side boob during the sex scene.
You just don't see it then. It's all about the nip-nips, I'm afraid.
It's all about the nips.
I've still never seen Starman. I've picked it up on Blu-ray, but I've not watched it.
Yeah, it was funny. There were two. I went and saw Carpenter play again music, and there was two themes he did this time around that I don't think he did last time when I saw him. And one was he did one of the Jack Nietzsche themes from Starman, and the other thing he did was a theme from Village of the Damned. Now, Starman I had seen, Village of the Damned I've never seen, but there was enough clips of Village of the Damned, because he plays clips behind his show when he's playing music, that I was like, I want to watch that one. Like, everyone kind of says, don't bother, it's a shitty remake, it's not as good as his other ones. There's this kind of thought with Carpenter that sort of after the 80s, none of his films were any good, and I've like disproved that with Escape from LA and Vampires and even Ghosts of Mars, all of which I legitimately like and will go to the mat for. So I'm like, I think, and Village of the Damned has a really interesting cast, so I really want to see that. And I really wanted to rewatch Starman. So yeah, I picked up Starman, and my plan is to pick up Village of the Damned when it goes down in price. It's still over $20, and I'm not spending over $20 on it. But I managed to pick up Starman for like $8 on Blu-ray. I mean, it's a vanilla disc, but still, it looks amazing. The quality of the print is really good, and his widescreen filming in that movie is just, you know, I'd spent a lot of time sort of in Arizona and around Vegas and stuff when I used to live out there. So a lot of those later scenes in the film, you're just like, like you just feel it. You just live in it. You're there. It's just so wonderfully shot and acted. It's so well done. And it's funny, I read one of the reviews that was saying, like, in anyone else's hands, this could have been a really silly movie. And if you think about the dialogue and the way that it could have been played by any other actors, it's, you know, it could have come across as super hokey and super silly. But there's just, like, Jeff Bridges and Karen Allen and John Carpenter working together. It's just, it's just so glorious. And the special effects of when Starman like grows into Scott, full-grown Jeff Bridges, that was done by Dick Smith, Rick Baker, and who's the other one from who did Jurassic Park?
Stan Winston.
Stan Winston. So like 3 of the greatest special effects guys of all time worked on that. So like even that is just this little, like, that's never happened before or since in cinema. Like those 3 guys all working together. So it's a great movie. I urge people to go see that.
I should watch my Blu-ray of it then.
Yeah, I would. I have it on Blu-ray, so I would definitely suggest that.
I'll dig out my old VHS copy.
Yeah. And with that, let us go over to the complicated, confusing, and most certainly unhappy world of Gene Hackman films. We watched the French Connection under Moe's request, because I think I'd picked out mainly not obscure movies, but certainly movies that you wouldn't necessarily associate with Hackman straight off the bat.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I haven't seen French Connection in so long. Can we please watch that?
Yeah. So French Connection. So I apologize for that being on the list because I feel like it's too good for this podcast.
I looked at the list and I was like, shit, we're doing a good film this year. That was good. That was weird.
Yeah, it's no fun.
You know, on my Facebook memories today, it popped up the episode we did last year of the before he was famous George Clooney one. And I'm like, oh my god, what a fucking shit fest.
So yeah, we did the French Connection, we did The Package, and we did Loose Cannons. And the funny thing is The Package and Loose Cannons come back to back, which I hadn't even realized because I'd gone through his filmography and put up a list of whatever it was, 15 movies or whatever in our little Facebook chat that we had. And then we kind of picked 3, but I didn't realize that The Package and Loose Cannons are basically a year after each other. We didn't, I mean, there was a lot that I wanted to kind of go and watch just so I could kind of reference to it, and I never did.
Literally like 17 movies.
Right.
Yeah, you've got a week left.
Yeah,
you'll be all right.
You got this, right? No problem.
And the inclusion of Loose Cannons, which I'm sure will be an interesting discussion, is basically because for me, and I've been thinking of doing a whole series of these on the show, but Loose Cannons for me is one of those movies I remember renting on VHS as a kid, loving, and never really letting go of. You know what I mean? Never really kind of going back to it and being like, all right. Like, every time I've watched it, I've had a good time with it. So, I to me, it's like a nostalgia thing, Loose Cannons.
Bit like AIDS.
Except that I never had that, Doc.
Oh, okay. Well, it's much like Loose Cannons.
Yeah, all right. Wow. Okay, so Doc's not going to like Loose Cannons, but should we do it chronologically? Should we start with French Connection?
If you want. Yeah, it's fine by me.
All right, so French Connection is sort of a proto, like one cop against them all kind of movie, I guess. It's sort of the East Coast Dirty Harry, but in a sort of much sort of grittier, grimier kind of way. Gene Hackman, for people who don't know, plays the take-no-shit cop Popeye Doyle, and he is on the hunt for a drugs ring, essentially, run by a Frenchman, played by Fernando
Ray. Oh, is that where the name comes from?
Yes. Who is playing Alain Charnier. He is partnered with Roy Scheider, playing Buddy Russo, and they basically wander around, drive around, run around, and sit around a very grimy 70s New York until completely failing to get their man. They get everyone else, but they completely fail to get their man.
The best part about it, and not to jump straight to the end, but the best part about it is when they do like the titles cards at the end where they show what happened to everybody. And like, I think the worst thing that happened was that poor fucking like French TV host, ends up doing several years in jail, and literally everybody else is like, suspended sentence, got misdemeanor crime, did no time. This guy got away.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's what's difficult about the French Connection is Popeye Doyle isn't even an anti-hero. I mean, he is, but he isn't. Like, he's just a really shitty cop, right?
He really is. Yeah, he's just a shit. And they keep talking about that too. It's like, oh, the last time you had one of these hunches, an officer died. And what happens? He has a hunch, and an officer dies.
Yeah.
Well, not to jump to the end, but he fucking shoots one. I forgot that.
He straight up shoots one of the cops.
Yeah. Well, he shoots an FBI guy, isn't it? The FBI guy that's working with him?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, he shoots the FBI guy. But I like, that's one of the things I absolutely fucking adore about this movie is that it's like they're building up. They finally get to the end where they quote unquote catch everybody. Like, they set them up perfectly, and then basically everybody gets away with it. And who's left eating shit? Fucking Jimmy Doyle.
Right.
That's the best.
Yeah, I mean, it's
well, probably, I'd say Roy Scheider does. He doesn't ask to go back for the sequel.
Right, exactly. He doesn't.
He really suffers.
He's like, so where are you going for the sequel? Marseille in France, and I don't get to come along? Damn it. Like, he loses all that, he loses all the sweet sequel cash. He loses all the sweet French females. And he doesn't get to hang out in Marseille being pumped full of heroin, like Gene Hackman does. But
that's all-inclusive I've been.
Yeah, exactly. All-inclusive resort by the sea in Marseille with all the heroin you can eat.
All right, Claire, this is where we're going. Get your stuff packed. We'll take the girls.
But he gets Jaws.
He does get Jaws.
Yeah, and he gets Sorcerer.
Yeah, he does indeed. But this is the French Connection from 1971, which I believe, isn't that the same year as Dirty Harry?
Yes. No, is it? I don't know.
I want to say it's the same. Yeah, it's exactly the same year as Dirty Harry. So it's sort of the East Coast Dirty Harry in the sense that, he has no respect for anybody. He'll punch, shoot, chase, scream at anyone who he comes across, and is constantly outwitted by the person he's trying to chase. The only difference is, of course, Dirty Harry does get his man. But it's an interesting film to kind of unpack because, on one hand, we're sort of modernized. The most, for me, certainly one of the most interesting things and most charming things about watching the film is definitely seeing the New York street photography of that time, which is extensive. I mean, it's all shot very much on location. It's shot, I hate to use that.
Unbeknownst to the people who were around there, too.
Right, completely.
Yeah, it's very guerrilla style.
Yeah.
And it's just like a documentary.
Yeah. It's
Larry Cohen-esque.
Very much so. That's a great comparison. And also, I would have to say that for having lived through a New York winter, in fact, living through a New York winter right now, it's one of the best depictions of the sort of that bitter New York cold. Like there's that whole sequence where they're following Charnier around kind of like Fifth Avenue and around sort of the shopping district on the east side, and not only can you obviously see their breath, but just the way Hackman is holding himself, the way he's like blowing into his hands, and the way they're trying to like hide in doorways or get in the car or get a coffee or anything to just kind of be a little warm. That is New York winters to a T, and it was really fun because I was watching this just after Christmas and thinking I should really have been watching a Christmas movie, and of course the opening, he's dressed as Popeye Doyle is dressed as Santa Claus and running through the streets. I'm like, oh, technically this is a Christmas movie. It's probably the most depressing Christmas movie ever made, but it is a Christmas movie.
Jingle All the Way, really.
Listen, Jingle All the Way at least has Jim Belushi in it, so you know.
Well, that doesn't do anything for me, but we've had that conversation already.
Every year it always goes back to Jim fucking Belushi.
You know, one year I'm going to suggest, hey, let's do these rare Jim Belushi movies.
And that's the year I quit.
That's the year we finally go, all right, we'll do fucking Linda Blair.
You wore us down, John. We'll do Linda Blair.
When it comes to Linda Blair or Jim Belushi, apparently Jim Belushi is more heinous than Linda Blair, which I actually have to say I don't agree with. But anyway, French Connection, it's also it's unconventional in the sense that I think a lot of the kind of cops against crims movies that come after this, and even Dirty Harry, is far more linear and structured in terms of a screenplay, in terms of cliches in the cop/action genre. Whereas I don't know whether this one kind of purposefully sort of flounced the cliches, or whether it just didn't have it in the first place, or whether sort of the script was a work in progress, or what it was. But this is very much, you could probably narrow it down to a few cliches, you know. He's a tough, no-nonsense New York cop, blah, 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 blah. But ultimately it doesn't play like that. It doesn't have the, like, three-act structure of a usual kind of cops and robbers movie.
Right.
Not at all.
Right.
And it's slightly racist.
Oh, it's very racist.
It's not slightly. Not slightly at all.
It's super racist.
I mean, could you imagine if this film was made today and all the young generation went to see it? You'd find them all in the toilets at the end, just sort of cowering in a corner, crying.
Yeah, this triggers everybody. There is no lack of triggering in this movie for the modern generation.
I mean, the whole picking your feet in Poughkeepsie thing.
Yeah.
I mean, is that just because he says it to a black guy just to wear him down?
No, it's this weird. Yeah, it's this weird little cliche thing that is also brought up in the sequel. It just seems to be Popeye Doyle's thing. I'm not sure that I fully get the reference.
It's based on a true story, and I've heard that he really did used to say that to him.
Really?
Yeah, because Jim Doyle was in the film, isn't he?
Well, I know that they're based on real characters, but I don't think that.
Apparently, he used to say that to wear down the people.
Okay, but his name wasn't really Doyle. I don't think. I think they're based on.
I don't know. He's in the cast list, but his nickname was Popeye.
Ah, I thought it was based on two other cops, and they changed the names. Maybe not. Okay, but yeah, it's and the fact that they don't really do much detective work, and they certainly balls up their arrests. They don't get any evidence. They don't write anything down. There's no sort of procedural to it. And in the end, like you say, everyone gets away, and they would get away because there's no evidence of any of it. Because they don't bother keeping it.
There's literally one aha moment, and it comes because of an illegal search and seizure of a car.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely. And even that is down to, and then that doesn't make any sense to me, the fact that they then pack the car back up with the drugs and send it off to the meetup, the rendezvous between.
No, it actually, if you get into their minds, it makes total sense because they're like, because they're like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to load it back up. We'll make it seem like nothing happened, like there's nothing wrong. We'll give them back the car, and then we'll ambush them at the drug deal.
But they don't even ambush them at the drug deal. They park half a mile down the road by the bridge,
right?
So that they're able to turn around, drive back to the house, and like escape essentially. Whereas if they knew it was taking place at the house, substitute the drugs for, I don't know, talcum powder. When the guy was testing the drugs at the handoff, he would be like, wait a minute, this isn't drugs. There would be like a confusion amongst the criminals, and then you could get a fucking SWAT team to go into the house and arrest everybody.
They'd have probably shot the main guy as well, wouldn't they? Right. We did bring in talcum powder.
Right.
I thought you wanted talcum powder. I thought there was a shortage in New York.
I thought you were chafing. Yeah. I thought you wanted the exclusive French talcum powder for which we are famous. That is what I thought.
If it was actually talcum powder and they substituted it for heroin, he's going, what do we want with heroin? We wanted talc, you French bastard. Bring us some of your glorious talc.
So, like, there's so many flaws, I feel like, in the sort of narrative and or the plot that the only way to kind of watch it these days, like I say, is for the performances, because I think Schneider and Hackman are very good in the film.
Absolutely.
And the chase as well. The chase is fucking brilliant.
The car chases are great.
The car chases are fantastic. And also the fact that it is a... and the fact that the sort of New York 70s on location kind of filming, that was a delight to me. But I can't say that I can kind of... I can't, like, recommend it, because it's not particularly a sort of... Not that every movie has to be a fun watch, but it's not exactly a sort of engaging watch unless you're getting those particular things out of it, I think.
I think if you've got a fetish for seeing Gene Hackman with a handcuff around his ankle, you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, there is that sequence. No, the going back a bit to the racism, just to the one line in it that made like my eyes roll. Like I was like, well, because. And this is a horrible thing to say, maybe, but you expect the 70s New York cop to be horribly racist against black people. You just expect that, and that's horrible to say, but you just expect it. I expect it of the NYPD now in 2017. So, it was the line where he said when they're in a nightclub and they see where the whole like plot starts. Actually, they're in a nightclub. They oversee an attorney meeting with some members of the mob, and they're like, oh, what's going on down here? And they decide to just like tail him out of nowhere. But he is a Jewish attorney, and he said Popeye Doyle says they all look the same without numbers tattooed across their chest, which I was like, wow, okay, fair enough. Like it's one, it was just one of those things where you're like, it's almost like that sequence in Dirty Harry when he says, is he only racist against the Mexicans? And he's like, no, I hate, whatever. And he goes through the long line of racial epithets against everyone else as well. Which on one hand you're meant to go, oh, well, that's all right then. He hates everybody. But it's a bit like that in this. You've seen him be racist to the black guy at the beginning that they chased down for dealing drugs in the little cafe, restaurant, bar thing. And then, when he makes the slur against the Jewish guy, you're like, oh, well, he hates Hebes as well, so don't worry.
It's all right, he's racist against everybody.
The funniest thing I would have to say, though, is that without 1970s New York phone booths, they would really have no luck in arresting anyone, because they seem to just shove people into phone booths for the first, 45 minutes of the film. Like, he does it at the beginning and blocks a guy in the phone booth. They do it in the club that they raid just so that they can speak to their informant who owns the club. They're always shoving people into phone booths.
Imagine if you tried that shit on Clark Kent.
Little does he know.
Yeah, exactly.
And Hackman would too, because he was Lex Luthor.
Yeah, that's good. And just for the record, the real copper it's based on is called Eddie Egan, who's in the film. He plays Simpson.
Well,
so there
nice.
you go.
So when did you guys first... Fact. Fact Corner with Doc Paul Crowson.
I was wrong before. He wasn't called Popeye in real life. He was called Eddie Egan, that was his name.
I was wrong before, but now I'm bringing you the facts. So when did you guys first come across this movie? Was it just one of those that, everyone's like, oh, you have to watch The French Connection? I feel like it's one of those movies. It's AFI Top 100. You have to watch this movie kind of thing. But what about for you guys? When did you first come across it?
Well, I'll take it this first, I guess. My story for this movie is like a lot of my stories for a lot of movies. Basically, in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was spending a lot of time at this one local video shop, rental store, and basically, this was the place that got me into movies. I went down there, rented a bunch of weird shit. I basically went through their entire cult section, and at one point I was starting to branch off into other good movies, classically good movies. And one of the employees there had said, well, have you ever seen French Connection? And I'm like, no. And and they gave it to me. It probably would have been 99, 2000.
They gave it to you. Oh, wait a minute, you mean the movie? Yeah, they gave you the movie. All right.
No, they gave me the business, and then they gave me the movie. Then they gave me the drugs. And I went home, I watched it, fucking loved it. So, and honestly, I think I've watched it maybe twice since then, including for this show.
And Doc, what about you?
I've got an incredibly racist friend, and I said to him, is there any films that will make me a better racist? And he says, yeah, The French Connection. He gave me a copy. Not really. I watched it with my granddad. We taped it off TV, and we watched it one Friday night. And that was years ago. I came back to it a lot later, and I think it's the car chase, and that whole chase is just... I think without that, I think if you didn't have the chase in it, it'd just be in, substandard police thriller. But that just sort of elevates it.
Literally, because it's an elevated train.
Yeah. And the violence, it's got some, the violence is pure 70s, with the red paint and plenty of it.
Yeah, no, I love that. I don't love it because it's. I love it as a film moment, but it's pretty shocking when he caps the patrol guy on the subway. The patrol policeman is trying to help, trying to stop him, and he just shoots him right in the chest, and you get that wonderful red paint squib. Just kind of, I like that.
Right up into his face.
Yeah.
Oh, and I've not really got any racist friends or racist myself. As it's 2017, I thought I'd better fucking mention that.
Well, because the tweens who listen to this show, if we didn't mention how un-PC and racist it was, they would probably write a very strong worded tweet in that direction.
No, you see, Doc, in 2017, racism's coming back, so it's okay.
Yeah, we're bringing it back, so it's fine.
Look.
No, we're not bringing it back.
It's one of those films.
Wait, Mo, we're all white guys. We are bringing it back, I'm sorry to say.
I'm barely white.
What were you saying, Doc?
I was saying this film could never be remade.
No. Mm-mm. But they'll find a way. They'll find a way. I said that about lots of films that are now being remade. Even Starman is being remade, apparently. So,
I suppose really, if they were to remake it, Gene Hackman's character would probably be played by Idris Elba.
Yeah.
And Roy Scheider's character would be played by
John Cho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously the French guy would still just be a white guy.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously.
And what is funny is that a guy who looks like he looks like the kind of guy who should be hanging out at a French vineyard talking twat waffle about the fucking grapes or some shit.
Yeah, and he's fucking Spanish.
And he's a Spanish dude as well, Charnier. And I just think to myself, if he can't even capture this, tweed jacketed French toff, then what kind of shitty policeman is he? He spends the whole fucking second movie trying to capture him as well. I'm like, when you see him, shoot him in the face and then go on with it.
At the start of it, he turns up back at his house and his new missus has bought him that coat. You're sort of like, he can't be. He seems all right, that bloke. Seems all right, don't seem evil.
Yeah, right.
He's just trying to sell a bit of heroin.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie. It took me a while in the movie to realize he was the bad guy.
I think it's that wave, on the subway when Gene Hackman goes up to the door and he just does that sort of wave to it. There's that wave and you're like, oh, he's a bastard.
Yeah, that was fucking slick too. Like he keeps hopping off the train and then finally just kind of backpedals back on right as the doors are closing. I'm like, oh, that's fucking brilliant.
And the callback to it at the end where he pulls down the ramp towards Popeye and all the police waiting, and Popeye just has that little wave. Like that's a pretty cool callback.
That's such a fucking cocky moment, and then he gets away.
Right. Like I don't know. Like I hate everyone in this film. Like I'm kind of just siding with Roy Schneider.
He's great in it. He's really good in it.
Yeah.
But Schneider's good in everything.
Really like at the beginning.
Except that Executive Target that we watched where he played the president.
I don't know. Executive Target was all right. Had some great...
Yeah, the film was good, but...
Great PM Entertainment car flips in that movie. Isn't there the one with Michael Madsen in it?
That's the one.
Yeah, I enjoyed that film.
Yeah, I did, but he just didn't give it his all as the president, did he, Roy Schneider?
No. And I listen, I certainly enjoyed watching Executive Target with Michael Madsen and Roy Schneider more than I enjoyed watching The French Connection 2. It's interesting. The French Connection 1 is obviously a Friedkin movie. It's obviously the one that goes down in sort of film lore as being a classic, etc., etc. Although, like I say, I'm not 100% sure that it still holds up today with sort of modern eyes and a modern audience. I think you need a little bit of knowledge of the history and the style of filmmaking before you kind of delve into something like The French Connection. I watched Serpico again recently with Al Pacino. Sorry, pardon me.
Was that your Pacino reference?
He's got great ass. Great ass. He gets a great cough.
Don't watch French Connection. Watch Serpico.
I watched Serpico the other day, and it, like, again, really good movie, a great performance. But again, it's one of those films where I'm like, it's the 70s, and I'm not sure. I think when people look back at the 70s filmmaking, like Serpico, like The French Connection, there's a tendency to go, oh, look how, new wave and edgy and realistic and documentary style and blah, blah, blah they were being. And I'm not sure that they were being that, or they just didn't quite know how to make these kind of movies yet. Like, because they're both... It's both that they're being that thing. They're looking at French films and foreign movies that were being made and trying to like ape them in a Hollywood style and do something a little grittier and a little more independent, and that's all true. But it's also the fact that a lot of these movies are kind of like proto movies of the late 70s, 80s cop films that would come after, and time again we're seeing that genre being refined. So we're seeing the rough around the edges style films like The French Connection and Serpico, and then slowly in the 80s and 90s we're seeing it become the kind of 3-act, 90-minute action film that cop dramas would become. And it's funny, like Serpico's a great movie, but it's also incredibly repetitious. It doesn't spend a lot of time like delving into the character. It doesn't bother to set anything up, and it doesn't bother to really pay anything off. It just is what it is. Like you delve into it, you spend a few years with the character, and then it ends. And it's sort of similar with The French Connection. Like, it's fine as a slice of life drama, but nothing's really set up, nothing's really explained, and nothing really pays off.
But you know what Serpico has, though? That great beard. Great beard.
He has an amazing beard.
I mean, come on, man. That is like epic level beard. that's fucking Stallone and Nighthawks level.
It's a phenomenal beard. But what's hilarious about Serpico is each time you see him, right? First of all, there's no real explanation in Serpico that he's undercover, much beyond people just going, "Oh, he's undercover." You never really kind of like see him be undercover. You just kind of like see him schlub around in ridiculous clothing. And what's funny is each scene that Serpico walks into, he's in an even more ludicrous outfit. There's one point where he walks into the police station dressed as a Hasidic Jew, and the guy behind the counter doesn't even like look up from his paperwork. He's just like, "Morning, Serpico." And I'm like, that could legitimately have been a Hasidic Jew and not Serpico at all.
I'm going to go file my report.
Hoo-har, and then I'm doing a bris.
I'm doing a bris.
Then I'm performing a bris. He's got a great foreskin. Hoo-har. He's like the least accurate Moyle. He's just like, he keeps going to do it. He keeps being like, hoo-ha, and then like slicing the tip off. Anyway, so pardon me, I haven't been doing this long. I'm undercover.
Is that a deleted scene?
Yeah. Serpico went undercover as a Moyle.
I would pay to watch that.
Serpico the sequel. Al Pacino plays Serpico 40 years on, undercover in the Hasidic Jewish community.
He's looking for the most dangerous foreskin in the world.
The only way he can get to the crime lord is by doing a bris on his son or something.
He's looking for the dreaded 666 underneath it. The bell end.
I found it. Damien!
Oh my God.
So anyway, I went on and watched French Connection 2. Apparently I was the only one of us who did that.
Yeah, you were.
Okay, so if I'm to be fair to it, so French Connection 2 is made by John Frankenheimer, who would go on to do, like, I think probably most famously, like, Ronin, right?
Yeah.
And it definitely, like, you see in the filmmaking Frankenheimer's progression from, like, this to Ronin. At the time he makes this, he's probably most famous for The Manchurian Candidate. And, The French Connection 2, it's not a bad movie. It's certainly not a bad movie compared to the first one. If you liked the first one, then the sequel is Gene Hackman wandering around Marseille. Like, in the same way that the first one is him wandering around New York, in the sequel he wanders around Marseille, which immediately makes it less interesting. because like with most ancient French cities, Marseille back in the 70s probably looks pretty identical to Marseille today, barring like the odd signage or whatever. Like, France looks like France looks like France.
So there's a sign up saying Gene Hackman got fucking off his tits here.
Probably. And so I won't spend too long on it, but it you'll see a lot of pro French Connection 2 stuff written about how it expands the characters of Doyle and it expands the characters of Charnier. Not really. I mean, it really doesn't. Doyle is essentially doing the loud, brash, take no bullshit American cop in France, just like he was doing it in New York. He's still as utterly inept in France as he was in New York. There is a moment in French Connection 2 where they have all the drugs, they have the boat, they have the guy who's coming to make the payoff, they have everyone but Charnier, and essentially they let everyone go and don't get any of the drugs and don't impound the boat and don't do anything because these like water taps are turned on and they end up being like partially drowned and stuff. But like essentially again, it's one of those things where they have all the bad guys surrounded, and instead of, I don't know, getting a team together and doing something about it, they have 4 cops, 3 guns, and an old fat dude in a Hawaiian shirt kind of thing. Like, there's no attempt at any kind of actual police work. And it's really
at least I'd know what character I played if they did the remake.
And what's hilarious is that Popeye Doyle keeps going up to the French guys and being like, well, I know why nothing's getting done over here, because you're all taking 2-hour lunches. And I'm like, no, it's not that they're all taking 2-hour lunches. It's that when they have the chance to actually do something, none of them do anything.
Right. And
then you have this whole sequence where he gets shot full of heroin in quite a kind of like disturbing, grimy way, because you're like, well, this is, one of my fears is sort of, that thing where you're injected with something that you can never like shake off. You know what I mean? Because it's either instantly damaging to your body or it's instantly addictive, and that to me is like a kind of torture terror that is sort of very deep and ingrained and very weird and whatever, because it's not about something you can fight off. You know what I mean? It's not about something you can kind of get over in the same way. But they do spend an inordinate amount of the running time of him dealing with it. And then there's this whole bit where the French police get him back and they're trying to wean him off, and he keeps mumbling about wanting a Hershey bar. And I'm thinking, like, the last fucking thing I'd want if I was trying to be weaned off heroin would be a fucking Hershey bar. They're awful. At least bring me a fucking Twix.
It's a good fear, but also in the same way, I'd be thinking, you know what? You get to go on heroin, and then when people go, well, it's your own fault, you can go, no, it's not, actually. It's somebody else's, and now I'm hooked on the good stuff. So go and get me some.
No, what French Connection 2 allows you to have is it allows you to have a little bit of closure to the storyline. It allows you to see Hackman doing some genuinely great acting in a film that doesn't really deserve his genuinely great acting. But it also does fall into that trough of those 70s movies where you're like, all right, wrap it up. You know what I mean? Like Serpico was another one where it was just repeat. We get it. Everyone in the NYPD is criminally corrupt, and no one wants to do anything about it. We don't need to see that 14 times. And it's sort of similar with French Connection 2. I would say if you really, really, really love The French Connection, watch French Connection 2, just because it is a good continuation of the story. And it's certainly not a sequel where it lacks... Like, it's not a sequel that gets kind of shinier and glossier and kind of spoils the grit of the first one, and neither is it a movie that kind of lacks the competency of the first one. Frankenheimer is a perfectly good director. Hackman's back in the lead role, being just as good as he was in the first one, and the plot is just about as tedious and non-existent as it is in the first one. So I mean, it's like the only thing it lacks is the car chase. That's about it. And it's worth a watch. Have you guys, apart from the first 3 minutes, Doc, have any of you even ever thought about watching this movie?
Nope.
Good.
Honest?
Yeah, honest. Honest, to the point, succinct. Should we move on to the package then? Or does anyone have any more comments on French Connection?
No, I really want to talk about the package.
Gene Hackman's package.
Gene Hackman's package. So, completely and utterly skipping over such classics as Hoosiers and Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
I think to be fair though, I think Gene Hackman probably does as well.
So between French Connection 2 and the package, we get to know Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor in the Superman franchise. We get to see him in Uncommon Valor, which Doc and I have covered over on Dr. Action, and The Kick-Ass Kid, which is a sort of...
Great film.
It's a good film, but it's a fairly kind of... it's Rambo 2, but if made with some sort of reverence for the vets. Is that kind of fair?
Yeah.
Like, it's slightly more about the veterans and slightly more about the army than it is just about one guy going in and trying to save some POWs. But I mean, essentially, it's just as silly a sort of wham bam 80s, 90s.
Yeah, I mean,
war film.
Rambo didn't have Randall Tex Cobb at the end dancing.
No, it doesn't. And it doesn't have Tim Thomerson in it, which Uncommon Valor does. So maybe Uncommon Valor wins just by the sheer Tim Thomerson and Randall Tex Cobb of it all. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, we know which one of those two movies is shit now. I mean, come on.
He shows up in the Sean Young getting porked by Kevin Costner in the back of a limousine movie, No Way Out. He gets to do his one stint in a Woody Allen movie in the film Another Woman, which is probably one of Woody's least seen films, along with Interiors. Have you seen Another Woman, Doc?
No, I've got it. In a
no, he's
collection.
He's got it in his Woody collection. Mississippi Burning.
What Woody will play? That's awesome.
Mississippi Burning, yet another film about racism. And then we get The Package.
It's a real fucking theme, isn't there, with Gene Hackman?
Yeah, and racist. Then we get The Package. So in The Package, he plays Sergeant Johnny Gallagher. Do either of you guys want to take on the quick, brief plot of this film?
Yeah, I can.
All right, go ahead, Mo.
All right, so yeah, like you said, he plays Johnny Gallagher, who is, it cracks me up. Like in this era of Hackman, it feels like he plays a lot of the same kind of characters. Like a no nonsense kind of smart ass kind of character. But in this one, he's doing it up to a T. He's been tasked with, basically, he botches a security detail and ends up as punishment, seemingly. Although we find out it's way more than that. Tasked with bringing Tommy Lee Jones, who is a character who we're told is a Walter Henke, in for a court-martial. Henke escapes him, and then basically the rest of the movie is them trying to figure out exactly what all this is about. And there's a lot of covert, shit happening. And he's a lot more successful in this one than he is in French Connection. That's basically it.
It's basically it. It's the other thing I would add is that it is set around end of the Cold War era negotiations.
Right.
And the kind of
it is 1989.
Yeah, and it's just as the real Cold War was ending that they make and release this movie. It is, the kind of conspiracy plot that the Hinky character, Tommy Lee Jones, ends up getting tied into is essentially an assassination plot that would continue the Cold War. And it is directed by Andrew Davis, who is probably most famous for The Fugitive, but made a couple of Steven Seagal movies, Above the Law and Under Siege. He also made Chain Reaction, A Perfect Murder, Collateral Damage, and Holes, starring Sigourney Weaver, apparently. But yes, it's very The Fugitive-like. I mean, Andrew Davis definitely has a style in terms of the filming. It's a bit of a road movie, bit of a chase movie, bit of a sort of, it is an action movie, but isn't an action movie. It's a conspiracy movie, but it isn't a conspiracy movie. My biggest problem with this movie was that I knew what was going on long before Gene Hackman was, and Gene Hackman did, rather, and Gene Hackman's character figuring out what was going on wasn't as interesting as it should have been. Doc, had you seen this movie beforehand?
I'd seen it years ago, but rewatched it for this. And I actually don't mind it. It's one of those films that's missing now, because we've got so many big budget films now. This is kind of what we're missing out on, this sort of thriller, middle of the road with some really good character actors in it. It's got a really impressive cast list.
It has a very impressive cast list.
Is fantastic. Yeah. I had never seen this before, so this was a first time watch for me, and like Doc said, it was a lot of fun. I liked it.
It's impressive because it's one of the few, everyone remembers Peter Sellers playing Inspector Clouseau, but no one remembers Dennis Franz playing Inspector Clouseau, but he does in this movie. which is amazing.
He does.
Dennis Franz plays incredible.
Dennis Franz is a good guy in it, and you always expect him to turn. I don't know why, because he just seems a little bit seedy.
Yeah.
But
he does seem a little like Dennis Franz is really stretching his acting muscle in this by playing a policeman, which is not something we've seen Dennis Franz do a lot, which I think is really good.
Psycho 2, he was the manager of the Bates Motel, and that was perfect seedy Franz.
If you want ultimate seedy Franz, Psycho 2 is probably it.
Go and watch that. That proper little, I got to wear my vest and smoke while I have a masturbation session on this. proper grimy Franz.
Yeah.
John Hurt in it, who passed away this year. He's good in it.
He's playing
He's
playing a right beady-eyed shit, isn't he, John Hurt?
Yeah.
And Pam Grier is in this movie for all too short a time.
Yeah, I feel like I blinked and missed Pam Grier in this because I remember seeing her once, but I don't remember fuck all of what she did in this movie.
Well, I also feel like don't forget that she's also in Above the Law, which is directed by Andrew Davis, and I feel like what it made me think of is when
she was up for Harrison Ford's role in The Fugitive. But turns out Harrison Ford was available. So
yeah, she couldn't grow a beard in time.
She would have been way better in that role.
Yeah, there's a one-armed man in my house. She would have just killed the one-armed man at the beginning of the movie, and there would have been no movie.
That's why they couldn't cast her.
Yeah.
Yep. They said too much of a badass.
Too much of a badass. No, I feel like what's interesting about kind of going back and seeing some of these 90s movies, or 80s movies rather, where someone like a Pam Grier shows up, and also in this movie, one of my other favorite blaxploitation stars, Thamus Rasulullah, which is one of the greatest names in all of movie making. He shows up in it. It makes you realize just what a fucking gobshite Tarantino is, because, when Jackie Brown came around, and admittedly she's a lead role in it, so I get it, but when Jackie Brown came around, he's like, I'm giving stars of the 70s their new shot, and da-da-da-da-da, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and I'm thinking to myself, plenty of filmmakers at that time, including Andrew Davis, were giving Pam Grier roles. It might not have been like fucking Jackie Brown, but they're giving her roles in films where otherwise she wouldn't have been working. Like you have John Carpenter gives her roles in a couple of his movies. Andrew Davis does in this. You have Tim Burton gives her roles and things. And so, for Tarantino to just come in and be like, I'm resurrecting her career, with hindsight, you just want to say, shut up, twat. But no, it is a really well-cast movie. Again, I agree with you, Doc, 110%, that the one thing we're missing out on nowadays, and I think why films like The Equalizer and stuff kind of pleased you and me so much, is that we're not getting... And you, Moe, of course, was that we're not really getting those drama-driven action films. We're getting action films, and we're getting, comic book movies.
Yeah, but it's still CGI. Yeah, and I like them, but we're just missing out on, this like the sort of 30 to 50 million action thriller, or just thriller.
Well, I feel like that's been a complaint for a while now, is that there's not the mid budget action film, it just doesn't exist anymore, and when it does, it's always straight to video.
Yeah, I'm just hoping now I brought it up on this, Hollywood's going to listen and go, he's all right.
Yeah, no, that's what it takes. It takes
a little twat from Leicester going on the After Movie Diner New Year especially go, oh fuck, he's right.
Oh, you took the words right out of my mouth there. Yeah.
He probably knocked something out of his mouth. Anyway, there's definitely, and there's. Well, I think when this started, although it was definitely slow moving, and although a lot of the opening stuff is you don't realize it's set up until way down the road, and therefore it can be a bit of a slog to get into the film. Once it got into the film, I was like, oh, I kind of like that there's this sort of conspiracy thing going on and da-da-da-da-da. My big problem was that it was revealed too soon to the audience. And therefore we kind of knew where it was going. And like I said at the beginning, watching Gene Hackman figure out where it was going and what was happening kind of wasn't as exciting as it should have been. There is, however, another great, like, elevated train Hackman chase sequence in the film. I think some of the action in the film is really good. I think some of the plot twists in the film are really good. But, like, ultimately...
Yeah, the gunfights are pretty good. The one in the diner's good.
Yeah, but again, that comes down to them being sort of like not the cops, but like the bad guys in that situation being completely incompetent. Like, why not? Oh yeah. Why not just wait till Gene Hackman?
They're a bit shit.
Yeah, why not wait till Gene Hackman goes home, follow him home, and just cap him while he's sleeping? Why open gunfire in a fucking diner?
Did you imagine if you got all the way through the film, you're like to the hour and 20-minute mark, and you go, and it just finishes. You go, I was shot in his sleep.
Yeah.
And the film just finishes, and you're like, oh, I thought he was going to uncover that. Nah. We ran out of money.
That would have been called the French Connection 3. So we have the weird setup though, where suddenly along the way, it becomes like Hackman and Franz. And I never sort of thought that as a double act that I was wanting to see. And it's still not.
I don't know. I could have done with the spin-off.
I think the biggest shame of the movie is this for me. In the early scene where Hackman is...
Not enough Franz arse cheeks.
Not enough Dennis Franz arse. So there's two things. First of all, not enough Pam Grier. Not enough Thalmus Rasulala. Not enough Pam Grier and Thalmus Rasulala together. But ultimately, no. My biggest problem with the film is this. At the beginning of the movie, there is a sequence with Tommy Lee Jones and Gene Hackman in the airplane when they're coming back to America with Hackman thinking he's transporting a criminal back to be arrested in the United States, an army criminal. So he's taking him home, and they have this conversation on the plane. And there's two things about it. First of all, you see that Hackman and Tommy Lee Jones have like amazing chemistry, and the characters are really bouncing off each other. And secondly, the weird thing is that it's acted and written almost as if the two characters know each other. So later on in the movie, when it's revealed that Tommy Lee Jones is not who he appears to be, and Gene Hackman doesn't know who he is, it seems really weird to me because that sequence on the plane makes you feel like they know each other, just in the way they're acting and the way they're talking. So, first of all, that was a little confusing to me because I was like, wait a minute, I thought they knew each other. Even from when they first see each other on the bridge, they're like riffing back and forth as if they're old pals, which is really odd. But secondly, the other sad thing about it is I'm like, well, with Tommy Lee Jones being the bad guy and also a bad guy that doesn't crop up very much throughout the movie, like he's only in like 3 or 4 scenes, and with Gene Hackman like trying to track him down, you miss out on the like Gene Hackman and Tommy Lee Jones show, which is what this movie should have been. Like,
yeah, this should have been. Yeah, this could have had like a good like almost midnight run kind of vibe to it. You know, if they had kept the characters together longer.
Right,
or even if it turns out that they were good friends and he was after his best friend, sort of thing.
See? Or if you had John Hurd play, because anyone could have played John Hurd's role. I would have had John Hurd play Thomas Boyette. I would have had. If
you've got a John Hurd role, though, you always hire John Hurd.
Right.
Not anymore, but you do.
No, I'm saying John Hurd could have played the Thomas Boyette role. Sorry, there's some police going past outside.
Yeah, there's Popeye Doyle coming to get you.
Popeye Doyle going to...
You got nothing to worry about, though, because you're not a cop, so he ain't going to shoot you.
He ain't going to arrest
me. He'll shoot you through the bollocks.
He ain't going to arrest me, and if he does, he doesn't have any evidence because he hasn't bothered to collect any. And And then I would have had Tommy Lee Jones in the Dennis Franz role, because then you could have had some, and then I would have extended the Dennis Franz role and then I wouldn't have had Dennis Franz in the movie. I mean, Dennis Franz could have played Colonel Glenn Whitaker, I guess. I would have swapped Franz and Jones, and I would have swapped Hurd and Jones, and that's how I would have done it.
Tommy Lee Jones would have been better as his ex-wife. If he'd have, like, dragged it, gone drag and sort of dressed up as a woman. Because then you'd be like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but they've got great chemistry.
I think, well, Gene Hackman...
Man, Gallagher's got a real taste for ugly women. I mean,
yeah. Gene Hackman goes in drag in The Birdcage. So maybe you could have had Hackman as the woman.
Oh, see? Very progressive.
Unlike Hackman, who apparently, behind the scenes, was a bit of an arse.
Yeah, that's the case with most films, though, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
At least he's retired now, so that I don't think anyone's going to come out of the woodwork. It'll be typical.
Well, I mean, after Welcome to Mooseport, you'd retire too.
Yeah. It's pretty typical. I'll edit this episode, put it out, and the very next headline will be Gene Hackman in Vanity Fair, like, Gene Hackman reported of having molested 17 people. And then I would have, oh fuck, no.
Wouldn't it be better, though, if Gene Hackman comes out and goes, Dennis Franz touched my cock while filming the
Yeah, if Dennis Franz is suddenly a molester of Hackman.
And I could go for it again, actually. I told you it was seedy.
Yeah,
Dennis
see?
Franz
It was a bit grimy.
Dennis Franz touched my package in the package.
And then John would go, listen to our review.
Come on over to aftermovie.com for all the newest news and reviews.
Yeah, but I feel like in 2017 the sort of the number of filmmakers and our actors we can now cover is slowly being diminished day after day, because it turns out that most people in Hollywood are rapist scumbags. So that's wonderful.
Who would have thought you could give all that power to people and they misuse it? That never happens.
Give all that power and money to white people, white males, no less. But yeah, no, it's pretty sad. But no reports yet on Hackman. Just that he called everyone he worked with on the Royal Tenenbaums a cunt, apparently, to their face, and was incredibly difficult to wrangle on that movie.
But is that really like negative news, though? I mean, I'm a big Wes Anderson fan. I know you aren't, but I'm a big Wes Anderson fan.
I'm a big Wes Anderson fan. We're both big Wes.
Yeah, I am.
I'm sorry. Well, I am too, and I love the Royal Tenenbaums. But still, I mean, honestly, they were a bunch of cunts.
True. But what's funny is that despite him apparently being a sticky bugger behind the scenes, Gene Hackman gives, I think, the performance of a lifetime in Royal Tenenbaums. To me, hands down, it's his greatest performance.
Fantastic. He's fucking fantastic in that. And I believe we just answered one of the Facebook questions.
And also racist. Huh? He has that whole scene with Danny Glover.
Yeah. What's he call him?
He calls him Coltrane.
That's it, yeah. What'd you say? Nothing.
And then he says, I'll talk some jive like you never heard. Gene Hackman, I can just see it now, an AFI tribute to Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman, a life in racism.
Oh, man.
And then with a special guest, Donald Trump, he really is one of the greatest racists we've ever had.
Oh, that's a really good Trump impression. Oh, my God.
So the package.
The package.
The package.
I'm not going to lie. I don't really have much else to say about this. I mean,
no, it was okay.
It's just an easy to watch thriller that you sort of watch and I sort of watched it and I thought, I really enjoyed that. Went to bed the next day. I never thought about the package again.
No.
It's just one of those easy to watch thrillers. It's not going to change your life, but it's enjoyable while you watch it.
It changed my life. It changed my life.
Oh, well, why
I
how did it?
I was gonna say I'm waiting for the punchline here.
It let me forget for 2 hours that I weren't going to die.
Right, exactly. It changed my life because I suddenly realised there was an unofficial Clouseau sequel starring Dennis Franz. That's how it changed my life.
I wonder if we could get that made. Is Dennis Franz still active?
I don't know if Dennis Franz is still alive. I have no idea.
He's still alive, and let's see if he's still active. Hold on.
He's trying to get a package sequel made.
It looks like the last thing he did was NYPD Blue.
Jesus, you're right.
Yeah. Wow.
He must have been paid some really good money for NYPD Blue.
Well, he showed his ass.
Yeah, that gets you $2 million. They're like, gee, go on, Dennis, just show your ass. I won't do it for less than $5 million.
Done.
And let's not forget his starring role in The Player as himself, which was a real stretch, I think. But yeah, he's sort of post Die Hard 2. What's weird is he hasn't done a lot of movies. Like, it's not like he suddenly did a whole bunch of movies. Yet you would think the double bill of The Package and Die Hard 2, which are both fairly meaty roles for Franz, you would think that he would do more work. But instead he just goes on to TV. Does the Mighty Ducks TV series, which of course is everyone's favourite.
Have you noticed that he's not worked as much since Brian De Palma's not worked so much?
Is that true?
Brian De Palma always put Dennis Franz in something, especially in the early years. Yeah, The Fury, Dress to Kill, Blowout, Scarface, Body Double.
Yeah, probably. Okay, but he did do. What's nice about Dennis Franz is he has been in T.J. Hooker, Hunter, The A-Team, and Street Hawk. I mean, if I could have had any kind of career in the 80s, I would have wanted to have been in all of those things.
Yeah. I suppose you're right.
But then he does Hill Street Blues and NYPD Blue and Nasty Boys, all where he plays a policeman. Like, he essentially gets typecast as a policeman. And in each time, his rank goes down.
Yeah. Maybe he just left the acting gig and now he's a copper.
Now he's an actual policeman.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, Dennis Franz, The Package, film things. Lastly, then, we were going to talk about, I would have to say probably, would you say, guys, that this was little known, or were you guys aware of this movie?
I remember the poster from video shops.
I had quite literally no idea that this existed until you guys brought it up.
Okay. Because to me, Loose Cannons it's one of those films, it's sort of, and it's weird because it says on IMDb, if you look it up, it's like people who like this also liked Real Men and The Couch Trip and movies like that. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, it kind of, I remember it as being one of those rentals around about that time. Loose Cannons is fascinating because it's directed by Bob Clark, that everyone will sort of know from A Christmas Story, Porky's, Black Christmas. He sort of has this like mad filmography because he does Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, he does Black Christmas, he does Murder by Decree, which is sort of this interesting comedy film from the 70s. He does Porky's, he does A Christmas Story, he does Rhinestone, and then
his best work.
His best work. We got another fucking Popeye Doyle going past today. A lot of people committing crimes in the snow. What the fuck's going on? Stay home, people. Unless, of course, it's an accident because some twat went out in a car in the snow and I could drive like I drive normally. And then, like, skidded and crashed into someone like a prick. And then Bob Clark directs Loose Cannons. I feel like it was one that I definitely saw on my video shelf at the local rental. It was probably one that I rented because of the Dan Aykroyd connection. And Dan Aykroyd has this really weird career where, like, some of his films are huge, like Ghostbusters and stuff, and then other of his films people never really talk about again, like The Couch Trip, like Loose Cannons, and like Dr. Detroit. And yet, here it is. Gene Hackman, Dan Aykroyd, the partnership you didn't think you ever wanted. And it's written by Richard Matheson and his son. Richard Matheson of Last Man on Earth fame, or the Omega Man fame, or I Am Legend fame, the novel which would go on to inspire all those movies and Night of the Living Dead and various others. Richard Matheson, kind of the godfather of the zombie film, wrote this with his son and Bob Clark. They were the three writers on this pick, which is also really weird. And I can't find any conversation online about that. I can't, like, it says in the Wikipedia thing where it's just like, yeah, Richard Matheson wrote it, Richard Matheson, who's famous for I Am Legend, but like there's nothing else. There's no other discussion where whatever. Dan Aykroyd interestingly disowned this movie when part of the film, and this is absolutely true, part of uncut footage from this film was found in a landfill about 10 years after the movie came out, and cops thought it was footage of an actual crime going on, only to suddenly realize that Dan Aykroyd was in the side of the frame. And when Dan Aykroyd was contacted about it, he said they should have left the movie in the landfill. So that's about the only anecdotal story I can find about this movie. Essentially, the plot, very, very quickly. Doc, did you want to do the plot as Moe's done one and I've done one?
Let me just... I'll look it up just to refresh my memory about it.
Okay, I'll do it quickly then.
Yeah, you do it quickly.
I'll do it quickly. So, there is a porno film that stars Adolf Hitler and,
that's right.
and a guy who is running for the Chancellor of Germany in 1990. Obviously, post, I guess, the wall coming down, I guess. So he's running for the new Chancellor of Germany, although that's never really specifically stated. And it has this porn film has also historical footage in it that it makes it very, very dangerous if this film got out. The film is being purchased by a fat sleaze merchant called Harry Gutterman, played by Dom DeLuise. And Gene Hackman gets embroiled in the plot because he is the detective assigned to the murder of two of Dom DeLuise's compatriots in this big porn scandal thing. And Dan Aykroyd is the multi-personality syndromed psychotic cop who has been in a monastery with monks for the last 2 years and is brought back on the beat by his uncle to work with Gene Hackman and his unusual multi-personality disorder. And Gene Hackman's take no guff MacArthur Stern cop is going to bring down an international German porn ring with the help of Nancy Travis playing a Jewish woman. This is essentially the film, but it's sort of like it's kind of like a buddy cop sort of road movie, train movie kind of thing, but where the buddy cop has a mental disorder that is also humorous. It's a mental disorder that we're invited to laugh at, except in one scene where Gene Hackman is trying to sleep in Dan Aykroyd's apartment and gets scared and surprised in the middle of the night when Dan Aykroyd reenacts a horrible torture that has undergone his character by some Mexican drug lords, which is why he gets multi-personality. I'm not explaining this very well, but essentially it's a buddy cop film where they're investigating a murder that becomes a porn thing, and it's a lot of fun. It's action, it's comedy, it's buddy cop stuff. There's some emotion in there. Doc, tell us what you thought.
Yeah, it's not the worst film I've ever seen. I've got to be honest, I'm not a huge Dan Aykroyd fan, so him gurning away for the camera wasn't brilliant. But it's not a bad film. It's not a bad film.
See, for me, Dan Aykroyd came out of SNL, and on SNL, he played lots of different characters. He would often be the actor who would like put on wigs or makeup or do voices and da-da-da-da-da. And then he comes out of SNL, and most of his like popular film roles, whether it's Trading Places or Ghostbusters or the Blues Brothers or whatever, yeah, he's playing different characters, but essentially, he's not doing like crazy voices or like playing lots of different things or doing or stretching himself particularly. And, in the Blues Brothers, he's just kind of cool. In Ghostbusters, he's just kind of nerdy. And in Trading Places, he's just kind of posh. There's no... Whereas this film, what I like about it is that it at least gives him the ability to kind of sort of do a bit more of his range a little bit, I think, and kind of go back to those SNL days. But that's just me.
Yeah, I like to be Gross Point Blank.
Yeah, he's good at Gross Point Blank.
he's great in Gross Point Blank.
Yeah, and Gene, they work well together, him and Gene Hackman do.
Right. I also read a review of this movie that said that Gene Hackman wasn't trying very hard, but I actually think Gene Hackman is really good in this film.
Honestly, I just think that Gene Hackman is such like a natural talent that even when he's not trying very hard, he's still pretty good. He's like pizza in New York, like even the bad ones, it's still pretty good.
Yeah, I think they're all pretty good. I've sort of messaged you, sort of slamming it. It's not the worst film I've ever seen. It's enjoyable. Like you say, it's got some good action scenes in it. Dom DeLuise. I mean, when it started, when Dom DeLuise comes along in a boat and they're all dressed as characters, I was thinking, what the fuck am I watching? They're all dressed as like Alice in Wonderland characters,
right?
But it's a different kind of plot.
And then there's a German crime lord who's decapitated someone and has a severed head on a fishing pole.
Yeah, it's another one of the. It's like the package. It's like one of these films that you probably won't get much of anymore. It's like an established sort of actor Gene Hackman. I mean, had he done much comedy before this?
Not really. A little bit here and there. What's he done before this in terms of comedy?
Well, I mean, like honestly, like
Superman.
Like, yeah, all of his Superman stuff. Like he played Lex Luthor, pretty funny.
Yeah, a bit. You never think of Gene Hackman as like the funny guy, but he's pretty good in this. His first introduction where they swap the jackets, and he's on about have you got a condom? That's pretty good.
I almost feel like what's interesting to me about the fact that it's written by the Richard Matheson guys is that I feel like they see these buddy cop movies being made, and we're all used to by 1990 sort of buddy cop movies. I think we're all aware of kind of what they are and what they do. And it's one of those where they're like, well, let's take that and make it weird. We'll stick within the formula of the buddy cop guy. So you've got the other cop in the precinct who antagonizes him all the time, and they have like negative repartee between them too. Let's have the bit where at the beginning we establish that he's a on the edge of the law, fly by the seat of his pants, improvisational kind of cop. Let's have him have like a classic car that he really cares about, but actually it's not like a classic muscle car or a classic sports car. It's like this weird classic wooden station wagon guy.
Yeah, wood panel station wagon.
It's like they came up with this great idea, this great comedy film about a long lost porno tape starring Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
And they went, it's good, but what we really need is buddy cops in it. And that's how it got made.
Yeah, or they had two separate stories, one about a porno tape starring Adolf Hitler and one about a cop who has multi-personality disorder, and they went, just put them together, slam them together, see what happens.
We've got Gene Hackman for the buddy cop film, and we've got Dan Aykroyd for the porn film with Adolf Hitler, and they're going, just put them together.
Put them together, just do it. There's clearly two scenes that are deleted from the film. Because there's this whole thing after the first sequence with Gene Hackman where Gene Hackman is sleeping in his car and driving around with all the stuff on his car.
That was really weird. I was thinking to myself, does he really just live in that fucking station wagon then?
And
then all of a sudden he's like, I got kicked out. It's like,
Well, at one point he says he's kicked out. The other point he says his apartment burnt down. There's some indication that he might have been kicked out by a woman, but she's never mentioned again. Like, there's no explanation of it whatsoever, but all of a sudden, also, for no reason in the plot whatsoever, he's driving around in his car full of all of his stuff. I mean, I guess it's so that he eventually has to stay with Dan Aykroyd, and they kind of, like, bond that night when he sees his apartment, and sort of it kind of explains a little bit more about Dan Aykroyd's character. But I feel
it's
like
just all white.
I feel like you could have had that sequence where he goes to Dan Aykroyd's apartment and it's all white and he explains that he doesn't really know who he is, without Gene Hackman having to spend the night. Like, the spending the night doesn't add anything to the movie. You know what I mean?
What's that great line that he has when he goes, "What's this? This is like an explosion in a milk factory or something like that."
Explosion in dairy.
Yeah.
It was a bit like the 2015 Oscars.
Racism. But I mean, so there's that scene. There's clearly a scene that was written where it's been edited out that Gene Hackman gets kicked out of his apartment or whatever happens.
And his first partner's never seen again, is he? Because he gets transferred.
Yeah, his first partner's never seen either. He just gets transferred back to back to homicide, rather, because it is a Vice-related homicide. Also, he goes, "Oh, the porno killings," as if there's been other porno killings. And then he shows up and has no knowledge of the fact that there is porno and or killings whatsoever. Like, it's really weird. There's clearly some bits that have been taken out or shuffled around or edited weirdly. And then there's one other scene that doesn't make any sense, and I'm trying to think. I had it in my brain. There's one other bit where the movie kind of takes a leap. And yeah, you fill it in your brain, but at the same time you're like, okay, this would never have been allowed to have been put out in this form nowadays. Like, this was edited this way and shoved out this way because this was always going to be a straight-to-video movie.
I can't remember that scene.
I'm trying to think what it is. But there's another bit in the movie where it just takes a massive leap, and I'm trying to think what it is. Yes, there's a bit towards the end where Dan Aykroyd explains in a line of dialogue that Nancy Travis, playing one of the Israeli spies, that she is going to help them out and she's going to do this and she's going to do that and they're going to broadcast it at some event and da-da-da-da-da. There was clearly a sequence in which Nancy Travis and Dan Aykroyd spoke about that is, like, edited out, and then they put in a scene where he just says that, because in the linear narrative of the movie, at no point has Dan Aykroyd learned that information, that's what they're going to do, but he just tells Gene Hackman that's what they're going to do. Do you know what I mean?
I can't remember the scene, but yeah.
I'm not going to lie. Out of the three movies we watched, this one's the most forgettable for me. So, like, I don't remember a lot of what actually even happened, which is sad because I only watched this movie, like, 3 days ago. I would have thought that this would have been, like, some weird favorite of yours just because of the madness. Yeah, I know. And honestly, it should have been. But there are other movies of this ilk that are done so much better and are so much more fun and so much more interesting that I felt myself thinking about them as I was watching this. I'm like, and the funny thing is, you mentioned two of them already, like Real Men and fucking Couch Trip. Like, I'd rather watch those.
Right, but I completely admit that this is probably one of those films where I think maybe you need to have seen it like as a teen or something. Like, you need to have had that history with the movie. Like, you need to have had that nostalgia with the movie, I think.
I totally agree with you because, like I said, I watched this for the first time. Like, I've never seen this before. In fact, I'd never heard of it before until you mentioned it, and I watched it for the first time, like, on Wednesday, like, just this last week, and my brain is failing me right now because I barely remember anything that happened in the movie. I mean, I do remember fairly enjoying it, but, like, I just don't remember enough about it.
Well, I mean, I was quite surprised that the action sequences aren't bad. I mean, they're not great, but they're not bad. And the relationship between the two characters, the fact that Hackman's sort of rough edge character kind of slowly befriends Aykroyd's character and like is empathetic towards Aykroyd's character is unusual. Like normally in action movies, it's like, oh my God, I hate his guts for like the first 2/3 of the movie, and then like he saves his life or something, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we're best pals. Whereas in this film, it's an actual kind of like a relationship between the two characters. Like it's actually more in the conversations they have than it is in what they end up doing.
It's sort of it's getting that way, and then obviously when he breaks the car and all the stuff comes flying forward, and that's sort of when it's kind of Gene Hackman sort of like, I'm not going to put up with all of your bullshit, but some of it I'll let go.
Right.
He's still got his cat in there somewhere in his car, isn't he?
Yeah, and that's the cat is never seen again after the sequence where Dan Aykroyd takes over the driving, has an episode. Oh no, it is. He gives the cat to the lady desk sergeant at the police station. Yeah. So we know that the cat's all right, and we know that the cat's being looked after. That's what ends up happening. Because otherwise, I was trying to think, like, do we hear of the cat after, like, he destroys the car and all his stuff falls out the back? Or does the cat just die? And I'm like, no, the cat actually is okay and is given to the desk sergeant. He doesn't get the cat back at the end, though. When they're walking down the hospital at the end, he should be carrying the cat, really. But I mean, I don't know. There's a charm to this. It's certainly not perfect, and I'm certainly not going to go to the mat saying it's the best buddy cop film ever made, or even the best comedy that Dan Aykroyd's in. But there's something about it.
Everybody knows that one's nothing but trouble. I mean, come on.
Dick knows himself.
Old Dick knows.
Old Dick knows.
I haven't seen that film in years.
Yeah, that's the best way to see that film. But after this movie, it is noticeable to say that he goes on to do comedy in other films. He's The Quick and the Dead has comedic elements. Get Shorty, The Birdcage, Ants, even Enemy of the State. And Heartbreakers, all of which, and Royal Tenenbaums, all of which have comedy in them. And then Welcome to Mooseport, which is devoid of almost anything. But yeah,
which ended his career.
Which ended his career, right. And it's also interesting that rather than this being the first or second step on a downward spiral in his career, if anything, his career after this just gets going. Like, after this, he does Class Action, Narrow Margin, Class Action, Company Business, Unforgiven, The Firm, The Quick and the Dead, Crimson Tide, Get Shorty, Birdcage, Extreme Measure. Like, after this, I feel like the career that we all think of Gene Hackman having, like him being the older statesman actor kind of thing, I feel like this is where it kind of takes off. So far from being the beginning of the downward spiral, it's almost the beginning of his success.
Nope, and it took Ray Romano to kill that.
He survives. He survives Superman 4 and Loose Cannons to go on and be successful. But Welcome to Mooseport, that fails it. However, he does have an incredibly neat 100 credits on IMDb. So I feel like, was IMDb around in 2003? IMDb was around, right? It's been around for like...
I feel like it would have been, yeah.
So I feel like he probably looked on IMDb after he did Runaway Jury and was like, I'm going to do one more. Just to get that sweet 100 credits.
And then I will retire.
Then I will retire, which is kind of like a great way to go out, you know what I mean? That's it. If he like just pushed it to 101, it would have really fucked up.
Yeah, it'd been, oh, you fucked up, Hackman.
Oh, you fucked up, Hackman.
And Dennis Franz wasn't paying attention to that because he stopped after 54.
Yeah, I know, right? Should have pushed it to the 60 at least. But I mean, a lot of the Hackman movies that come after this, I'm a big fan of. Like. Enemy of the State, I love. Runaway Jury is pretty good, and Royal Tenenbaums is probably one of my favorites. And we should probably give a shout out to Heartbreakers because Orville Ketchum himself, Peter Spellos, is in Heartbreakers. So what up, my pal Spellos?
Indeed.
And you can hear him talk about Heartbreakers on our interview with Peter Spellos in Booth Talk from the After Movie Diner, where he talks all about meeting Sigourney Weaver. Sigourney Weaver.
You know, that's still one of the more interesting things that's happened to me in 2017 is you have that interview with Peter Spellos and you talk to him about me and he fucking friends me on Facebook. I'm like, fucking random. I love it though.
Of course, man. No. Like I feel like if there was a father and son movie that was going to be made, it would be you and Spellos. Like Spellos would play the father, you would play the son. Like you guys would be a great double team. I feel like
that's true.
Also, in a porno way, you would be a great double team.
I call asshole
with Hitler. to bring it back to loose cannons.
Callback.
So, did anyone have any? I spoke a lot about loose cannons, but did anyone have any other comments on loose cannons before we go to our questions on the internet and then wrap up the episode?
No.
Yeah, I want a sequel.
I would have legitimately gone for a sequel.
You know what? Do the sequel, and I'll play the Dom DeLuise role.
Nice. So, okay then, and did anyone have any other comments on Hackman's other career?
No, it's a good career.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like you've mentioned pretty much everything I wanted to say, and I agree. He's had a fantastic career. You know, he had a good early career, 70s, early 80s, even with the silly Superman stuff, you know.
I bet he made a lot of money off it, though.
Oh, you know he made a shit ton of money off of that. Because, I mean, like, it would have taken a shit ton of money to allow myself to be in fucking part 4. I mean, come on. You know, and then he has a bit of a dip, and then he comes back fucking crazy strong and ends it on an ultimate low point with Welcome to Mooseport.
Which I think is fine. What about you, sir?
Me?
Yes.
He made The Royal Tenenbaums and Unforgiven, so those two films alone, I can give him the pass on anything else that he's done. I think he's a great actor.
And like I say, I think Loose Cannons deserves a relaunch, like people to rediscover it. Because as long as you can understand that there's clearly a few scenes edited out, so that it's not exactly the most linear or most common sense movie, I think there's a lot to enjoy there. And I'm glad that I can shine a little light on it on this episode. So now let us go to our questions from the internet. Craig R. Williams asks, which is better, good guy Hackman, bad guy Hackman, or somewhere in between? Mo, your answer, please.
I tend to go for bad guy Hackman more. Like I really like when he plays like sort of slimy, villainous. Or even more like you get the combination where he's like the slimy, villainous anti-hero, which is also good. But I legitimately tend to like bad Hackman more.
Doc?
Yeah, bad guy Hackman. He's really good in a film called Prime Cut with Lee Marvin. He plays a really good villain in that. But yeah, I'd probably go for something somewhere in between where he can be the bastard anti-hero sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm going to go somewhere in between as well, just because Royal Tenenbaum in The Royal Tenenbaums has both good and bad in him. And also, like I say, the fact that in these films, like Loose Cannons and some of his An Enemy of the State and stuff like that, although he can be irascible and curmudgeonly and grumpy, he also has like great empathy and understanding and emotion to him as well. So somewhere in between for me, I think. So, next question. Paul Adonis Rawlings writes, Gene Hackman is awesome, whatever role he is playing. My first ever film I watched him in was Uncommon Valor, Loose Cannons, and then Narrow Margin. 3 films that made me love his movies. What is your favorite Gene Hackman movie, guys? Let's start with you, Doc.
Royal Tenenbaums, without a doubt.
Mo?
Oh, well, clearly, and this is a callback again, his role in Welcome to Mooseport. No, I joke. I have to go with Doc on this one. Clearly, Royal Tenenbaum is his best role. Although I do love his brief moment in Young Frankenstein as the blind man.
He is great in Young Frankenstein. For me, it's probably got to be somewhere in between Enemy of the State and Royal Tenenbaums. I do love him in both those movies, but of course in Enemy of the State he only really comes in halfway through. So I'm going to go for Royal Tenenbaums, just because if you are in doubt that Gene Hackman isn't one of the finest actors of his generation, the sequence where he tells Angelica Houston that he has cancer, then he doesn't have cancer, and then he does have cancer again is so well played and so well acted. And
absolutely.
so, like, it's just... the nuance of that is just incredible. And also being able to play a character that is so distinctly manipulative and so completely unlikable, and yet is both redeemable and lovable without ever really going through any huge character shift. I mean, yeah, okay, he gets a new dog for the kids at the end, and, you know, he does open his heart a little bit, but ultimately he doesn't have, like, some big revelation about anything. But he's just so good in that film. He's just so good in that film. So Tim Gross asks, and I'll throw this to Doc, I think, probably, just being the Western fan that he is, but thoughts on Hackman in The Unforgiven?
One of the best ever villain roles in a Western. He's utterly, he's a great character. Even though he's a complete and utter bastard in it, he's totally watchable in it. Totally worthy of the Oscar that he got for it. It's one of the best roles in a Western. He's everything in that. He's great. Yeah, so, I mean, Royal Tenenbaums is probably my favourite role of Hackman's, and it's a close second by Daggett in Unforgiven. I rewatched it a while recently, and he's just the venomous shit in it. He's great.
Mo, did you have any comments on The Unforgiven?
Basically, Doc nailed it. Yeah, he's great.
And the funny thing is about me is that I know a lot of people praise The Unforgiven. My favorite Western that he's in is The Quick and the Dead, where he plays such a pantomime villain. It's ridiculous. But I like The Unforgiven, but I haven't seen it in so long that probably not worth me talking about it. Mark Burns asks, hello, gents. If you could replace any actor from any film and put Gene Hackman in their place, who would it be?
I got to think about this one. And replace any actor in any film with Gene Hackman.
With Gene Hackman. And I presume, like, you would have to pick Gene Hackman from the 70s, Gene Hackman from the 80s, or Gene Hackman from the 90s, because it's not like you could be like, well, the boys from Stand By Me I'm going to replace with Gene Hackman from the
90s. You've just actually answered what I was going to say.
That's a good idea.
And I'd put Gene Hackman in all four roles.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Will Wheaton. Hello, Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman. I don't know, what would I put Gene Hackman in? That's a really interesting. I mean, I don't tend to play that game because I tend to like movies based on who was cast in it originally. Is there any movie where I think it's been so miscast that I would put Hackman in it and it would make it better? I guess that's kind of where I would come at it.
Honestly, I'd need like a week of thinking to answer.
Yeah, I can't answer that off the top of my head.
That's such a good fucking question, but it's not something I can answer off the top of my head. Like, I really would need to sit and think about it. Sorry. I'm useless.
I'm just trying to think. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so. I wish he was still acting. I'll say that. Like, I wish like him and Nicholson and some others were still knocking about doing stuff. I mean, I know De Niro.
Oh, wait. No, I got a perfect. I would replace Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor with Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor.
Oh, that's a good point. I would replace Jesse Eisenberg with Gene Hackman, and not just in Superman, in all films that Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I think he'd make a great
although
Mark Sandberg in the Social Network, Zuckerberg in the Social Network.
It would make the love story aspect of Adventureland a little weird.
Not in 2017's Hollywood, it wouldn't.
True.
But yeah, no, I would just remove Jesse Eisenberg. Like, I would never have allowed Jesse Eisenberg to be in a film. And
could you imagine Gene Hackman and Woody Harrelson playing off of each other in Zombieland? Like, how amazing that would be.
Yeah, it would be so much better because Jesse Eisenberg wouldn't exist. Same with Justin Timberlake. Any film with Justin Timberlake in it, I would replace Justin Timberlake with Gene Hackman.
Done.
Oh, and Zac Efron. And yeah, almost anybody I would replace with Gene Hackman from today's movies, I guess.
There you go.
And last but not least, my darling Kimberly has asked, did you talk about Pam Grier in the package? If not, talk about her for at least 5 minutes. Mo said, we did, even though 5 minutes is longer than she was in the package. Kim has now said, since you guys have already talked about it, give her another 30 to 60 seconds again. So before we finish and wrap up this Gene Hackman New Year's Eve show, let's all talk about Pam Grier for 30 seconds. Doc, your Pam Grier conversation starts now.
Yes, I've seen her in Coffee. She was really good in that. Foxy Brown, great tits. Ghost in Mars, died unceremoniously with a head cut off. Hard to Kill, she managed to not get her ass touched by Steven Seagal, so bonus points to Pam Grier for that. What an actress. And she touched my good friend's beard. Is that 30 seconds?
It'll do. Mo, your 30 seconds on Pam Grier starts now.
I feel like... don't do that. I feel like an aspect of Pam Grier's filmography that isn't explored nearly enough are her Babes Behind Bars films that she did in the 70s. I mean, they get talked about, but not as much as her like blaxploitation stuff. They're fantastic. I love them. Also, I happen to notice on her IMDb, she has 99 credits. So I'm thinking Pam Grier's got one more movie left in her.
And then her and Gene Hackman are going to run off into the sunset together.
Yeah. So Ray Romano, if you want to ruin another career, maybe welcome to Mooseport 2.
with Pam Grier.
With Pam Grier.
Why not, right?
Yep.
So
give Dennis Franz a call.
I think one of the things that should be reminded is that Pam Grier was in the TV series The L Word, which was all about hot lesbians. So
yes, it was.
That should be discussed. And what? And the fact that she's still making movies, and that people should see them, and the fact that what's his name? Tom Hanks cast her in Larry Crown, which is not a great movie, but I think the casting of Pam Grier elevates it.
I quite enjoyed that film.
Apparently, the movie that she told me she was making, called Bad Grandpires. What am I saying? Called Bad Grandmas, where she plays like a kick-ass grandma that was originally going to be with, what's the name? The Greek actress, old Greek actress.
Jennifer Aniston.
No. No, what's her name? It's now with Florence Henderson. And apparently it's been released. I didn't even know this. Bad Grandmas.
Made your best 2017 list. Could be number 8.
Yeah. You don't want to see this bucket list is the tagline. It's got Judge Reinhold in it. Pam Grier.
I'm in. I'm already in.
Florence Henderson. Who else is in this movie?
Not much of anybody else.
Not much of anybody else. Four grandmothers accidentally kill a con man. When his partner shows up, things go south quickly. It was meant to be her and... Dukakis, what's her name?
Olympia Dukakis?
Olympia Dukakis. That's who it was originally going to be in. Because when
that would have been fantastic.
Yeah, when I saw Pam Grier back at the Lincoln Center like 5 years ago, she told me that she was going to do an action comedy movie in which her and Olympia Dukakis played kick-ass grandmas. So that's apparently been released. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know it's been released. And then there's another movie called Rose, which has James Brolin, Sybil Shepherd, and Pam Grier in it, which might be worth a watch, which is all about a widowed ex-cop discovers that she may have a life-threatening illness and decides to go on a solo road trip in a motorized wheelchair to explore the beauty of the Southwest. On her journey, Rose discovers more than just the simple beauty of New Mexico when she meets and falls in love with Max, an old cowboy who comes to a crossroads of his own. Sometimes love takes the back roads.
And
that means anal.
And what is this old school gangsters? Look at the cast list on this.
Well, now that is not officially being made yet. That is a movie that was mooted a long time ago. Doc and I covered it on the show, and on it was meant to be a sequel to original Gangsters, which had this cast list. We interviewed Fred Williamson about it, but they never raised the money.
That's a fucking shame, man. That cast list alone would make me watch it.
Oh, we got such Fred Williamson, though.
Anyway, guys, that Pam Grier conversation ends this year's Gene Hackman's podcast. I want to say thanks again to you and Doc Moe for being on the show. It's always a pleasure. It's always a thrill. I think we got through these films and a conversation about Gene Hackman in a wonderful way, and I think everyone was very happy.
Yeah, so I say next year, Linda Blair. Let's make a list of about 250 movies. We got 365 days. We start now. We might get them in time.
I do. The only thing is, like, I really did love the Roger Moore one we did. I think that's the one that I loved the most, and therefore I'm always wanting to do, like, a stupid amount of movies. But I equally like it when we kind of do something that's a little left field. I think my left field thing this time was Loose Cannons, because no one expects anyone on a Gene Hackman podcast to talk about that movie. But I do
Gene
like
Hackman especially.
Gene Hackman especially. But yeah, I don't know. Next year, I don't know what we're going to do. And we can certainly keep it down.
We'll start talking about it on Christmas next year.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think. Great. Well, no, I started the conversation back in October.
Yeah, he did. To be fair, Mo, he did. We just ignored him till November.
Yeah.
Not Linda Blair.
You were all like, not Linda Blair. You could do it before they were famous, Linda Blair, where she played an embryo. But that would be about it. I don't know what else she did before the...
All right, fuck it, we'll do that.
The Exorcist.
Done.
I don't know what we'll do next year. Who knows what we'll do next year? But whatever we'll do, it'll be fun. It'll be fruity. It'll be flighty. Guys, in the last 5 seconds, your 3 New Year's resolutions. Mo?
3.
Doc?
I have 1.
What's your New Year's resolution, Mo?
Survive.
Okay, Doc?
I don't know. As long as it's not 2017, I don't give a fuck.
No, it'd be 2018.
Yeah. As long as we're at 2017, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm a fucking northern liberal living in fucking Florida. Please, I need all the luck I can get for this next year to survive.
And my New Year's resolution, although I feel like I do enough of it, I'm going to do more of it, is to share and promote and like and comment on all my friends' creatives endeavors.
This year, 2 episodes of Doctor Action.
Yeah, in 2018, Doc and I are going to do at least 2 episodes.
Yeah, we're Pam Grier on IMDb. We're on 99 at the minute.
Yeah, right.
99 episodes, yeah. So, but maybe you might see 100 Doctor Action's 100th episode this year.
And then you guys can retire.
Yeah. Yeah, we're covering Welcome to Moose Point.
I need to be the guest on that episode.
The funny thing is that Doc has it tattooed on his arm, so we can actually never stop doing that show. Even if we only do one episode a year, we have to do that show forever until we die. Because otherwise, I mean, at what point, Doc, does you having a tattoo that says "I am Dr. Action" is it still relevant if we're not recording the show?
No, he'll just get the "I am" to crossed out and just have it said "once was."
Yeah. It marks our endeavours to bring action back in a big bad way. So I love the tattoo.
Which I feel like we've achieved.
If anybody ever mentions it to me, they go, "When can I listen?" I'll go, "I'll let you know when the episode's out. It'll be sometime this year."
Yeah, it'll be sometime this year. But no, we are planning on doing a Die Hard 2 episode, but I don't know if that is going to be our 100th episode. So we need something pretty special for our 100th episode. So we should put out a poll maybe on our website asking people.
Well, I'll make sure to add "Welcome to New Mooseport" to it.
Yeah. And with that,
and for the record, people, don't fucking dare put a Linda Blair film for us to cover.
Savage Streets.
Oh no, I don't mind that one.
He doesn't mind that one. He doesn't mind that one. What a surprise! So, sirs, gentlemen, thanks so much, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yep. Fuck 2017.
Yeah, straight in the butt.
Nice.
All right, guys. I gotta go.
Boom. We're out. Done. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Be full of greatness and full of good cheer. I don't want to hear all you hipsters sneer. Round here we love New Year. Oh, Christmas may be for families, and Easter's a big chocolate binge, and Halloween's a time to dress up, and Valentine is a time to get ye some minge. But New Year's a time for friends to get together and throw their hands and knees in the air and party into the wee small hours, drinking and loving with nary a care. So happy, happy New Year. Be full of friendship and all you hold dear, and in case before it was not made clear, around here we love New Year. I don't want to hear all you hipsters sneer, 'cause around here we love New Year. Well, your birthday is for you to be selfish, and an anniversary for you and your love. A holiday is a time for relaxation, or to have sex with a stranger in a warm furry glove. But New Year's the time for a party. I said out with the old and let's look ahead, and everyone gets a nice kiss at midnight, and the lucky few, they will end up in bed. So happy, happy New Year. Be full of laughter and be full of beer, and all of you naysayers talk out of your rear, 'cause round here we love New Year. And in case before it was not made clear, around here we love